Climate change. We've all heard of it, and chances are if you've lived in Canada, you're experiencing it. It's those unseasonably warm days in the midst of winter, freak summer storms, record-setting snowfalls in winter, and even the odd tornado or two that ventures into Canada. And so while we may grumble about having to shovel out our driveways yet again, or relish the thought of warmer winters, the reality is climate change is little more than an inconvenience for most Canadians. But travel a couple hundred kilometers further north, past the 60th parallel, and it's a completely different story. There, climate change is having a devastating impact. Just ask Richard Weber. He's been traveling to the North and South Pole for the past 20 years.
I've seen the North Pole change dramatically. It's a completely different place than it was 20 years ago.
According to the Arctic Climate Impact Assessment Board, Alaska and the Yukon could see their temperature go up anywhere between 3 and 5 degrees. 3 to 5 degrees? How much can that really change things? Well, the answer is a lot. Changing ocean temperatures results in a loss of sea ice and changes to the freezing pattern. Animals like polar bears and seals who depend on sea ice as their habitat will be dramatically affected. Warm winters will affect northern vegetation. Aggressive plant species foreign to the north will displace native ones. There will also be increased insect damage to trees, resulting in the loss of entire wooded areas. Changes to seasonal weather patterns have also been found to affect migratory species such as birds and caribou. Their numbers, according to projections, will ultimately decline. Okay, so climate change is happening in the north. We all get it. But how does that relate to environmental justice? Let me introduce you to a woman named Lorraine Peters. She was the MLA for Old Crow for a number of years in the Yukon. Old Crow is one of the last subsistence communities in Canada. Located 800 kilometers northeast of Whitehorse, its people still depend on the annual migration route of the porcupine caribou herd. The disruption of the caribou's migratory patterns has led to starvation in Old Crow on more than one occasion. The name Vuntut Gwitchin is literally translated to caribou people. Even today, their culture, religion, and health are all inextricably linked to the land and the animals around them. I asked Lorraine how she saw climate change affecting her community.
Well, for one, the migratory travels of the porcupine caribou is very noticeable. We don't see it in a lot of the areas that we used to. And, you know, sometimes in the springtime they come later, and a few years ago the calves were born before they got to the calving grounds. And that's a real danger. You know, the porcupine caribou herd is the mainstay of our livelihood, and there's a decline in the numbers, and there's a lot of challenges for us in that area.
The situation with the Gwitchin is not all doom and gloom though. For the past number of years, they've been making the argument that the government has a responsibility to protect the caribou, outlined by various UN declarations and international human rights treaties. For the Gwitchin, the survival of the caribou is a human rights issue. Now, climate change is affecting more than access to food. Warmer weather is resulting in the significant loss of permafrost. Permafrost is ground that is continuously frozen throughout the summer and winter. The problem is, when that ground melts, houses collapse, roads cave in, sewage systems back up, entire northern communities are being rocked. Chris Byrne has spent a number of years studying permafrost in the north.
Well, the most important and most significant thing is that throughout the Western Arctic, where climate change has been quite significant since about 1970, the ground temperature in permafrost is warming up noticeably.
So here's the deal. The Earth is changing, it's warming up, and we're all contributing to it. But my point is, we're not all going to pay the same price for it. Things in northern Canada are changing way faster than they are down here. People's culture, their food, even their houses are in serious jeopardy. But don't take it from me. Let's talk to the experts. Do you think the Canadian government has an ethical responsibility to respond to climate change then?
Absolutely. As does every government, and as do we all as individuals. We all have, it's not just government. We have to be thinking, when we're making decisions as individuals, we have to be saying, well, wait a minute, what can we do?
Climate change isn't just an environmental issue, it's a justice issue. People in northern Canada have just as many rights as we do in the south, right? I mean, this is Canada we're talking about. So the next time climate change comes up, remember it's not just about melting ice caps and wacky weather. And the next time you're thinking about what you'd be willing to change for a better environment, whether it's a habit or a light bulb, your friends up north will thank you.
I live north, I mean way up north, with the rocks and lichen and a scrubby dwarf birch and a willow and a creek is a crooked old tree, silent, ancient, blameless me. The roots have been here for 10,000 years. We've seen a thing or two, you might say. The great herds of woolly mammoths came, and then they went away. But what do I know? What's a willow and a creek got to do with anything? Tough little willow in the great wide nothing. Sticks and soldiers, another year older. I'm a kid, just a kid, 7-year-old kid, and I'm gonna be an inventor and fix all the damage they did. That mean clowns who will not see any connection to